Hello everyone. Welcome to Win It With Vinit. I welcome you all to the first episode of the podcast. Before I start talking on the topic, just a brief about myself. My name is Vinit Kapoor. I'm a communication and self-development trainer and a social media influencer. I left corporate world to pursue my life goal of changing the lives of people by changing their habits and their thought process. I ran my communication training center for 10 years and then shifted online to reach out to large number of people who needed quality training in English communication and self-development. With more than 800,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel, Learn English with Zita, I've been successful in building a passionate community of learners, and I'm proud of each one of them. I've been asked time and again to share the challenges I faced and lessons I learned on my way to whatever little success I got in achieving my objective. One statement that I commonly received from my viewers on my YouTube channel was that they remained motivated for a few days after the lecture, but the effect would slowly die down, and I would come out with Zig Ziglar's famous quotation. People often say that motivation doesn't last. Well, neither does bathing, and that's why we recommend it daily. I knew it was easier said than done. Therefore, I sort of taking up the cudgels and moved towards a common objective of keeping ourselves motivated through weekly inspirational talks through this podcast. I hope you like the idea, and if you do so, please tell others about the initiative. The other question that I've often faced is how I changed my life and became successful. The fact is, like any normal human being, I've had different phases in my life. There were points when I failed miserably, and then there were periods when I made tremendous progress. I invariably found out that I hit my goals whenever I immediately applied what I had learned through someone, like my mentor or speaker, or through a book, lecture, or course. And surprisingly, at times, the lesson was a simple one, yet it was converted into a big force through the power of belief and implementation. I would appeal to you all for implementing whatever you learn during the talks, or whatever point strikes your heart. It might be only one small concept, but if it strikes you, make a commitment then and there to apply it in your daily life and convert it into a habit. Let's come to the topic of the day, thinking differently. There are a number of things that influence us and impact our lives. But then there are few factors which transform us. And today I'm going to talk about one of these factors, thinking differently. Man is often called a social animal, but I believe he's a thinking animal first. And this one trait puts him way above other animals. But the irony is that he ignores it and chooses to exist as an average person. In fact, we misinterpret the meaning of thinking. For most of the people, thinking comes handy while taking important decisions of life, giving answer to a question asked in the interview, or solving some old puzzle. But thinking does much more than this. Deep thinking elevates you, while thinking differently transforms you. Our education system lays emphasis on linear thinking and gives ready-made solutions to already existing problems and puts us in a box which gets bigger with every passing day. We get trapped in this big box because box grows, but we don't. By the time we grow up, we are badly trapped in a box which is everything that keeps us busy for next 20 years. We keep moving from one point to another within the box and forget that there's a world outside the box which is much larger and much more beautiful than the small world of the box that we are in. The only way to come out the box is to keep thinking differently when it is growing in size, or to make a big leap if it has already grown big. Your endeavor should not be to feel secured within the box, but to take risks and keep thinking differently, to find ways to jump out of it. So, how can we think differently? Well, there are ways to do that, and I will talk about these one by one. The first thing you need to do is to learn the art of breaking patterns. As a child, we see things happening around us and notice people behaving in certain way, showing certain responses to varied situations. We fix patterns in our mind and start following these patterns. The first thing we need to do is to try something different and be ready to fail. The greatest of innovators in the world have this engraved in their minds. They break status quo quite regularly and are ready to take the pain of resistance or failure. It's difficult initially, but there comes a time when they accept it as part of the process. When you start doing something different, your mind starts breaking the patterns that are already formed there. And that is the first sign of the growth. Remember, when you fail at an attempt, you break two patterns. One, which is already there, and the second, which your mind had formed while you were attempting something new. Therefore, looking for a new solution means you're trying to make another pattern. If you keep making new patterns, you evolve into a thinking man. It might sound weird, but the second thing you gotta do is to prove yourself wrong. Yes, you heard me right. Do you know the biggest resistance against thinking differently comes from inside? And this is what you need to control first, not the external resistance. We are so occupied with the viewpoint of outer world that we tend to ignore the word inside us. The funny thing is that your brain lies to you sometimes, especially when you start thinking of doing something different. Its initial response to any new attempt is to convince you that you are not cut out for it or that you lack the required skill. It keeps nudging you to take a flight instead of fighting the challenge. It's time to challenge your brain if it says you can't learn a particular skill or you don't deserve this. Shut it up if it says it's not meant for you or you are too old or too young to learn this skill. When you keep doing it, your brain will start respecting your viewpoint and will support you in every new endeavor of yours. Great souls know how to silence the voice within, which is trying to undermine your capabilities. One of the greatest painters of all time, Vincent van Gogh, said, "If you hear a voice within you say you cannot paint, then by all means paint, and that voice will be silenced." And the next point is practice reflective thinking. Try to understand your mind and the games it plays with you. Try to befriend it, talk to it, and learn its working patterns. And this all can be done when you have a reflective mind. When we brainstorm ideas with different people, we often see the clash of different thought patterns. One of the most creative thinkers of entertainment industry and a great innovator, Walt Disney, found a remarkable solution to this problem. He used to think up, refine, and execute ideas through the power of reflective thinking in a novel way. He would break the whole process of thinking into three parts: the dreamer, the realist, and the spoiler or the critic, and come out with some innovative ideas that changed the way entertainment industry worked back then. He had three separate thinking rooms where he would practice reflective thinking in a planned manner. He would don a different hat in three different rooms and would not allow the critic in him to suppress anything absurd that the dreamer in him is trying to think. Similarly, dreamer would not come in the way of the realist or the spoiler means critic in him. But all this might have started when he decided to think differently. Fourth and the last point is think more of solutions and opportunities than of problems. Most of the scientists and inventors were thinking about the solutions while the whole world was focusing on problem. Even in the current situation that we are in, you'll find a lot of people talking more of problems that emerged after pandemic struck us than of opportunities that it brought before us. Just to quote an example, I would not be talking to you if we were living in the same old world order. If you look at any problem, it's an outer shell of the solution, in fact. Means there's a solution embedded in every problem. Or maybe two solutions. So there are no problems, only solutions. But our mind is such tuned that it only sees the problem but fails to notice solutions and opportunities thereafter. Newton saw the solution in the apple that fell on his head. Edison in the darkness that surrounded the whole world before he invented the bulb. They didn't think much about the problems. They channelized their energy in finding the solution. You see, it's all about thinking differently. Let me recap the points once again that can help you think differently. The first point, learn the art of breaking patterns. Second, prove yourself wrong. And the third point is practice reflective thinking. Last but not the least, think more of solutions and opportunities than of problems. With this, we come to the end of this show. I would like to thank you for listening to me patiently. Now is the time of implementation. Apply all of these points in your life consistently, and you'll see your life changing. It takes time, as every good thing does, but it works. Let me know the results after some days. I'd be keen to hear your success stories. You can connect with me on Instagram at Win It With Vinit and on my YouTube channel Learn English with Zita. Please subscribe to the podcast and share it with your friends. Rate the podcast and write a review. See you soon. Let's win it with Vinit.